All good. Yeah, what's happening, everyone? What's happening? I'm hoping everyone went through the gold chart. If not, I'm gonna go through it now. Just to start off, and to reiterate what sort of Marco has been saying, like the PA has been very rangy, according to our model anyway. It just hasn't suited our model in terms of clean price action, where we're confident to take trades and hold them to their positions. It's mainly been in and out trades if you have been trading. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to go through gold because I feel like there was some very good price action in terms of liquidity to liquidity and how the markets have been moving. How's everyone been finding PA recently? How's everyone been finding PA? Feel free to put your questions in the chat as well. I'm here to answer any questions that you guys might have. So yeah, feel free to put any questions you have regarding the model, how we trade, any charts that you want me to look at, any pairs. I'll go through all of those. But yeah, from like the general consensus, I can see that we're mostly just finding the PA quite difficult to go through. So yeah, let's start on gold. I'm hoping everyone can see my screen here. Now, just to look at gold on the higher time frame. Now, I know a lot of people were bearish. I initially had that same bias to come to these lows. However, if we look at the 3 month chart and even the monthly, to be fair, if we look at the monthly chart, price just didn't give me any indication to move lower once we took these lows. I know on the CFD chart, it looked like the lows weren't taken to the left, so there was still like a low here to the left on the CFD chart. However, I stick to using the futures chart. The reason why is because I believe that it's the real data, it's centralized data, so it's not manipulated by any brokers. You have Rwanda, Forex.com, FXCM, etc. So, because this is coming straight from CME, this is the data that I personally trust anyway. Okay. Um, so, can everyone hear me? Yeah? I think the majority can hear me. If you can't, maybe log back out, log back in, and then you should be able to hear me. But from what I can see, is the general uh people can hear me. Yeah, we're all good. All right, cool. So, yeah, you can see how we took that low October 2025, and ever since we've had that bullish move up. Okay, now this is the reason why I didn't think we would be taking those lows below. So yeah, I had a bullish bias midweek. Let's just break down what's happened. So if we go down to the daily time frame is so powerful in a sense that it gives us the direction of where we kind of think the market's going to go using probabilities. So if we just dissect this price action here, okay, just looking at the daily time frame, you can see how we took the highs from the left. Now, that doesn't mean, and I've seen this quite a lot, okay, especially in the community, is that once we take highs, people immediately look for sells, okay? And that's where you either get wicked out, okay, or price has that reaction but carries on moving higher, and then you're confused as to why the model didn't work. So my best advice is to just wait for more price action to develop. Let the market show its hand, show us that we're going bearish, and then we can carry on with those continuation entries all the way down. So if we look at what happened at this point in price action, you can see how we've taken a high, sorry, from the left, and we can even go down to lower time frames to see this. Okay, where was it? So yeah, this is what I wanted to show you guys, that even though we took this high, if we look at, let me just put a new tool there. So you can see how we've respected, okay, this high to the left. So Friday, the 5th of June, what time is that? That's 3 p.m. GMT. You can see how we've come into this area multiple times and we've had that breaker structure away and we've sold off ever since. So what did the market come and hunt for? Okay, it came and took those highs. Okay, now once we came and took those highs, okay, the reason why I wasn't sure is because price just didn't give me any indication that we were moving lower, okay, during that sort of Monday, Tuesday. So I did have a bullish bias, but unfortunately I wasn't able to get in. But we'll break down this price action for sure. For those that can't hear me, maybe log in through like the Discord app or a web browser. I'm hoping you guys can hear me because I've been talking for the last 10 minutes. Yeah. Guys, can you just confirm that you can hear me? Yeah? Okay, cool. Yeah, if the majority can hear me, then we're all good. Yeah, we're all good. So, yeah, let's break down what we did on Monday, and then we can go on to some other pairs. But yeah, let's look at gold. So we'll start from the higher time frame on gold. Okay. So as I was saying, we took those highs from the left last week. Okay, we started to range. Okay. Now this is really, really important. Okay. If we look at this break of structure to the downside, okay, so this was where the last day of the trading week last week, so Friday, you can see how we come and we break structure, okay, to the downside. And then on Monday, so that's Monday this week, we come to the highs, okay, and we respect these highs, okay? We respect these highs to the left on Monday, and then on Tuesday, we've engineered liquidity at these highs. What have we done? We've sold off, okay? So we sold off, engineering liquidity at the highs. Wednesday, which generally my data shows me that Wednesday and sometimes Thursday, but generally Tuesday and Wednesday are my best days to trade. It's where most of the expansions generally occur. And you can see how we opened up, we spiked the previous daily low, and we had that bullish move up. Now, where did we come to? Okay. So on Wednesday, we had that bullish move up. And then Thursday and Friday continued that expansion. Now, what did we come and take? We came and we took that engineered liquidity. You can see that we have that trend line. Okay. We come and took that engineered liquidity. Okay. And that's what price does. It moves from liquidity to liquidity. Okay. So that's how you would have dissected the higher time frame, especially going into Wednesday. Once you waited for that previous daily low to be taken, then you could have looked for entries on the way up. Okay. Um, so let's go through intraday price action. So we'll start off on the hourly. Okay. All right. So let me just pull up Monday. Yeah, here we go. So um, what have we done here? Okay, we took these lows from the left on the higher time frame on Friday. And what we can see here now is once we've taken these lows, okay, we respected this liquidity block to the left. Okay, I'll highlight that. So we respected this liquidity block. Now, you can see how we've tapped into this area multiple times. So I personally would have waited for these lows to go. Okay. Now that is high probability trading. Okay. Waiting for all liquidity to be taken, all that inducement from the left. However, we have to react to what the market is showing us. If we've induced buyers on the left, you can see how we took those highs. Okay. And then we've induced buyers plenty of times on this leg up. And then we came and trapped them. You can expect a reaction. Okay. So what did we do? We took the lows. Any reaction now from the left, and I like to do this quite a lot where I mark out potential reaction points. Okay. So you can see whether you want to mark out your inducement highs, okay, liquidity blocks, which can give false reactions. Okay, you can see how any of this reaction from the left is false. Okay, so what do we do? Once we've taken these lows, we start having bullish price action. Okay, just make sure we're all good here. Yeah, so we start having this bullish price action. Now we've got to look at where we've built liquidity at. Okay, and we can do that through the lower time frames. So what I like to do once we've taken liquidity from the left, okay, we then want to see price action form an LB, and you can look for those longs back up. Okay, now for me, I let the market essentially react, okay, to have these reactions, and I've spoken about this quite a lot. You can see how if I take this candle, okay, you can see how we came into this candle and then we broke structure, indicating that there is now liquidity at these lows, okay? So this was last week, Friday. We carried on having these bullish reactions, essentially bullish formation of price action occurring. Look at how these sellers are essentially getting trapped on the way up. You then come to a deeper pullback, and you can see how we even broke structure here. Okay. Okay. So we broke structure. We returned to this area where retail would be selling from, but we know according to our model that anything from this left-hand side would be a trap. Okay. So what happens? The market opens up. So you can see that here. So right here, the market opens up, okay, induces sellers, traps all these sellers, okay? Now this is during Asia on Monday. Now, what have we essentially done? Okay, we're just building liquidity at these highs, okay? So what do? We come all the way up. Now, if I zoom in to our POI, this is where we've got to be really, really vigilant and look at if there's any potential liquidity blocks. You can expect reactions or expect it to be respected. Okay, so notice how we have this liquidity block to the left. This is all a build up. You can see how we've just essentially sold off. So what I would have done is, if I was bullish at this point, I would have taken my profit at these highs. Okay. So these highs here. Notice how we respect that liquidity block. Okay. If you were to take a short here, because what you've essentially done is induce sellers, trap them. There's a liquidity block there. We're in a liquidity block. This would be an engineered short. Okay. Now, what do we do? So this was during Tuesday, Asia. So on Monday, I would have just let price action play out. If you really, really wanted to take a trade on Monday, um, you would have had to wait for these lows. Okay. I would have waited for these lows to get taken. These lows here. Okay. Where we essentially formed liquidity in Asia. We broke structure. Okay. I would have waited for these buyers to get trapped and then taken it to those highs. But you can see how price action formed. We took those highs out, induced buyers, and look at what we did. And this is really important to see. Look at what we did as we were building structure. Okay. We've just built liquidity. We've engineered liquidity to the downside. We've got loads of buyers come into the market. Now, what are buyers expecting? They are expecting a new high to be formed, right? Okay. If you look at it like this, you've got a higher high, a higher low, you're expecting a new higher high. But what does the market do? It moves from liquidity to liquidity. So what do? Once we've taken those highs and induced buyers, now anything from the left-hand side is a trap. So is there anything I would take? There was a potential entry, which I'll look at. This is where I took a small position. I'll show you guys what I took. So, like I said, anything from the left-hand side is a trap. If I now zoom in to price action, look at how we come to the lows. Okay. Take this whole area. Sometimes you can take a candle. You just want to see the reaction first. And what do we do here? We form a liquidity block. So if you can really zoom in here, notice how we take this low and then we come up and take this high. So for me, that there is a liquidity block. Okay. Now we continue to break structure, induce sellers. Okay. Once we've taken these lows, we've induced sellers. Okay. And then we keep on inducing these early sellers. Remember what we've done on the higher time frame. We've induced buyers. So you will see reactions at these lows. Okay. And what does the market do? I believe that was news on Tuesday, 2:30. Okay. We spiked that. Okay. And think about again, where are buyers going to be looking to take positions? Always at these lows that give false reactions up. Okay. Look at what we're doing when these buyers are taking positions. Okay. Look how we tap into this. Okay. And move away. We've engineered more liquidity to the downside. So we've induced sellers, and all I did was wait for these highs to go. You can clearly see, I'm hoping everyone can clearly see that this is just a build up before news. Okay. The market was just building liquidity, inducing buyers, inducing sellers. We trapped them. I did take a short here. I'll show you guys what I held to. This was on a CFD. So my stop was below that high. I partialed once these lows went. And where do we come to? So it's literally where we said liquidity was built. If I now take or drag where I said we built liquidity, right? Look at how we tapped into broke structure. If I take this all the way to the left, look at to the T, right? Look at that. Look at how we take that liquidity on Wednesday, I believe. Yeah. So you could have held that short down, okay? And again, just showing you guys how once we've taken liquidity, we're then going to target the opposing liquidity and always keep these levels on where you've marked liquidity to be. But what have we now done once we've taken this low is we've trapped all of these buyers in the market, okay? Now, again, I was waiting for all of these lows to be taken, but the market just didn't do that. It's left liquidity for later. Okay, so I'll keep this level on 4361. Before I go through the buys, does everyone understand what we've done so far? Exactly. Yeah, the exit is just as important as the entry. Absolutely, Vicky. Yeah. And you can see how our model just shows absolute precision, okay? By looking at where liquidity is resting in the markets. Just because we've tapped into this area and moved away, okay? And we moved away quite a bit, right? That doesn't mean that this level won't get tested, okay? All right, it doesn't mean that we won't come and take that liquidity, right? And if we look at it from a higher time frame basis, okay, all we've done, this is, and I'll show you guys what I mean by the Da Vinci model. In essence, what we've essentially got here at play is the Da Vinci, because if you think about it, right, this move down induced sellers. I'll even write that here. So sellers induced, okay? We then built liquidity at the highs. So what do we have here now? We have engineered liquidity. And what do we then form? Okay, we form a liquidity block. Okay, we essentially engineer liquidity, move all the way back down. This is a liquidity block below because we've trapped these buyers. So you could have used this as a liquidity block. On a lower time frame, I believe this is also, if I've just trained myself to see that, but that's a liquidity block there. It essentially induced higher and trapped lower. So we have an LB there, but I would have covered that whole area and maybe even put a few more pips down. And then you could have taken a direct entry there during Asia. Okay. Now you can see how we come up to the highs. Once your direction is clear, look at how we've induced sellers now. We came up to these highs. Think about all these bullish buyers, okay? See people who see these reversals, them essentially not sure, the market pulls back, takes them out of positions, whether they're BE, okay? This is where we could enter. So this is another entry you could have taken, maybe if you're a London trader, and then look at the move out, okay? Now, you've got to ask yourself this question, okay? Where did this reaction, if I highlight it, from A to B, right? This is the move. So that yellow marker that I've put from A to B, where did that reaction come from? Okay. We go and we look to the left-hand side. Okay. And this is where I'll go up to like a higher time frame to see this. So this move from A to B, which induced sellers, right? Where did that come from? If we take our box tool, okay, and we mark out this whole area to the left, look how we tapped into that and moved away. So we have engineered liquidity at these highs, okay? And what did the market do? Now, if you've missed this entire move up, right, there's no need to chase those buys. Look at that candle, that 11 a.m. GMT candle. We come into this area, and what do? Think about it, right? On the higher time frame, we've taken these lows to the left. Sellers are looking to get in at these highs. And how do we know that? Look at what the higher time frame did. Okay, we came into this area and we broke structure, okay? Inducing sellers. Now, if we go down to like intraday, we can see that here, right? We induced sellers, okay? And how did I know to mark out this candle? Well, look at where the reaction came from. Look how we tap into this area and break structure. Okay, so we tap into this area, we break structure, and then we take that liquidity. Okay, and then look, once that liquidity is taken, look at the move that we have. Okay, coming up and taking those highs. Okay, so what I'm essentially trying to show you guys is that you have to just be patient enough to wait for the reaction. Once that reaction shows you its hand, that's when you want to start looking for your entry model. Okay. Um, yeah. I'm hoping we're um understanding so far what we've gone through on gold. Yeah. Um, I'm not sure if you guys can hear me or not, but from what I can see, the majority can hear me. If you can't hear me, it's a problem on your end. Okay. Oh, what's going on, Elijah? Thank you. Yeah, if you can hear me, then you're good. If you can't hear me, it's a problem on your end, guys. I've triple checked my settings. Can you explain why the box is a bar? Um, because what you're essentially having here is the area. So remember, this candle is on a lower time frame. It's just a range, right? And it's the area where buyers got in because we broke structure. So the lows is where you would have liquidity, and that's what the market hunts for. You can see every time we come into this area, you just got to pay attention to detail here. We're just essentially breaking structure as we keep tapping into this area. Okay, look how many buyers, after seeing this move, okay, after seeing this bullish move up, look how many buyers were getting into the market. And what did we do? We trapped them first. Okay. So this is where you can avoid FOMO. Set a limit. Okay, alert. This is where I want price to come, and only then is when I will entertain looking for a position. And that's exactly what I did. Okay. I waited this whole sell down. I weren't even looking to take any trades in this area. I marked out where I wanted price to come to. And then once we took out those highs, okay, on Tuesday during Asia, I then set, once my alert was triggered, I looked at my charts and I looked for that entry, and that was me done. Okay. But you can see how the pro bias move is the longs. Okay. It is the longs. And I'm hoping you guys can see where you could have taken these longs from, right? So as soon as we trapped, okay, um, this is a position you could have taken. And if I'm honest, I would still be holding this I would have held it all the way to those highs, and maybe obviously left like a running position, maybe a small runner, because if we look at it on the daily time frame, we still have all this liquidity. Okay, we still have these highs that price can come to. Okay, so yeah, that's basically gold in a nutshell. Yeah. No, it was a market execution. For those that can't hear me, don't stress. This is recorded. This is recorded, so don't worry. Does anyone have any questions regarding that gold price action? In terms of like forecasting, if we look at it from the weekly time frame, I'll just clear my charts. So if we look at this from a weekly time frame, we've induced sellers. I'm bullish until these highs get taken. Now, that doesn't mean that we um, just fly there, okay? That doesn't mean that that just happens. It could when we open, it could. However, what I want to see now is I am bullish on gold. I want to see reactions out of these areas. So I want us to see something like this, right? Look at how we've respected these lows, okay? So I'm just being patient now. I'm just waiting for these reactions. I won't be looking for any sells yet, um, especially with this move down that's engineered liquidity at the highs. But I am definitely bullish on gold. Wow, we might even see $5,000 an ounce soon. But yeah, don't stress, guys, if you can't hear me. Don't worry. Yeah. I'll speak to Marco and see if you guys can get access to the recording for this webinar. Um, so just don't stress. Um, okay. Can you check monthly? The monthly time frame. Yeah, what about it? What about it? Yeah, I'll speak to Marco. Don't worry. Don't worry. This strategy works in all pairs, bro. This strategy works in all pairs. Um, Another pair that I want you guys to look at is if you look at Euro AUD this week, it was such clean price action. It's unbelievable sometimes. So if we look at Euro AUD, okay, I'm hoping we can all see clearly here, right? That we've induced buyers, okay, and what we've now got at the lows is liquidity, okay? Look at how this whole area we respect, okay? So we respect these lows and we're in this area now, right? I'm hoping everyone here can tell me what we're looking for. Just based on this price action, just tell me in the chat, what are we, bullish or bearish here? Are we bullish or bearish? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Cells are active. Yeah. And if we now break down, going down just to the daily time frame, okay, if we break down recent price action, we took out these highs, okay, and then we came and we trapped those early buyers. So think about these buyers getting in. You can see these breaker structures. Induced sellers, it's literally liquidity to liquidity. Okay. Look at all of this liquidity we had, right? Price comes and hunts for that. We tap into a liquidity block. So we tapped into that liquidity block. Okay. Look at how we induced sellers and trapped them. Okay. Now buyers are induced, so we are coming for these lows. So Euro AED is definitely a asset that you guys can look at. I do look at it. I do trade it as well. But there was a clean buy, which I had marked out here somewhere. Yeah, it was this one here. There was a clean buy here, just based off the 1 hour time frame. Yeah. You can see how we've induced sellers by taking out all of these lows. So we took all of these lows, induced sellers, okay? We formed the LB because we induced buyers and then trapped them. So that's there. Look how we respected these highs. Induced buyers, trapped them. We even tapped into this LB. I even had an alert here. That would be your buy. And I was discussing this with a few people. That your buy target would have been literally to these highs. Okay, look how we respected these highs. Okay, if I just put a candle, look at how many times we respected, okay, and moved away. We've engineered so much liquidity up here. This trade would have made your whole month. That's a 1 to 15.5. Just shows you how a higher time frame idea literally can pay you for the month. And we know this was an engineered liquidity move because we are expecting these lows to go, okay? And look what we did once we took those highs. I'll just zoom out. I mean, I'm not sure who's in this. I do think there's one person I know that's in this currently where that's a liquidity block and we tapped into that as well. We tapped into the liquidity block. And if we know this is our higher time frame position, it doesn't really matter. Once that high is taken, it doesn't really matter where you get in, as long as you've got a stop that you can cover, okay, your stop loss, because your higher time frame target is so high, or so low in this case, right? And if you look at that from like a daily time frame, you would partial at these lows. So you'd partial at these lows and you would ride it to your higher time frame target. Okay, and that is 588 pips. Okay, looking at on the weekly there, all based off a higher time frame idea. Yeah, insane, insane. Yeah. Um, no, if you've trapped buyers, then you're looking for buyers, aren't you? And if you've trapped sellers, you're then looking for sales. Yeah. Yeah, maybe you were just an early seller. But yeah, that was Euro AUD. Yeah. The engineered liquidity move. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. Any other questions, guys? I'll look back in the chat. Um, yeah, another interesting pair, guys, was BTC. We came and took those highs that I've had marked out for such a long time. But yeah, we came and finally took those highs out. Yeah. Just again, using our model to frame direction here. We had sellers induced in the markets. You can see where these reactions have come from. What has the market done? It's purposely ranged, inducing sellers. Okay, they've seen this breaker structure. Okay, sellers holding positions, and the market's just come and essentially trapped them. Okay, um, but yeah, I do want to see what Bitcoin does because it's quite interesting how we've now got liquidity at these lows. Yeah, so yeah, and maybe we're inducing buyers into positions. It could even come and take maybe this extreme inducement high. I'm hoping you guys can see why I've marked that because this is where we've had that reaction from, which broke structure lower. So my next target on BTC is 90,476.81. And I'm hoping we can then see a reaction back down from here. Yeah. So yeah, interesting stuff in terms of crypto. Um, if we want to buy, buyers need to be trapped. How do we identify the real buyer trap? It's basically where you have liquidity built up. Yeah. Um, Ravish, that's a very generic question. Just because you've induced buyers doesn't mean you look for a sell straight away. You have to obviously look at the higher time frame direction, etc. Um, GBP USD. Yeah, sure. I'll look at that. GBP USD. Yeah, I've marked this out. So if you just look at my markings, okay, you can see how we induced sellers, okay, on the weekly time frame. We came up to the highs, we respected the highs, and then we induced sellers. It's very similar to gold if you think about it, right? Because we induced sellers on the higher time frame on gold. We came to the highs, respected that, and moved away. Look how we broke structure here. And then we came and took previous daily low on Monday. Sorry, that was on the weekly. Yeah, so that week, the week beginning 27th July. And we've been bullish ever since. And what do we come and take? We take that liquidity that we've engineered. Okay. Now, if you look at where these reactions are coming from, we have all this liquidity to the highs still to take. So you can see that there. Okay. We've tapped into that, moved away, engineering more liquidity at the highs. So I do think we are bullish on GU for sure. Hoping that makes sense. Yeah. I think EU plays the same price action as well, or similar price action. Um, any other questions, guys? Any other questions? RTY, yeah, I do. I do look at that. Let me just let me pull that up 1 second. So RTY, yeah, I do look at Russell. Um, in terms of the indices, we're just bullish. I personally think we're just very bullish on the indices, but you can see what we've done this week. Because of the Russell, we're just trading at all-time highs, so I've kind of left it alone. But it does make sense, right? It took all-time highs, and we're basically coming for the engineered liquidity that we've essentially built, right? On the way up. So if you look at it in terms of this is where we've built liquidity, right? Yeah. Just give me 1 second, guys. Okay, so yeah, sorry guys. So as I was saying, you can see how we've taken the highs. I don't think there was any entries on the way down though. But yeah, this is what I was. This is a perfect example of once the highs go, why would you look for sales straight away? Because you can see how we induce sellers, we come and trap them, right? Now your LB formed, and then you want to see this reaction, right? And then a move up. So yeah, I would have just waited for that high to be taken, to be fair, on a higher time frame. But yeah, you guys can see, right? We've just built liquidity now, right? We broke lower, came back to the highs, respected and moved away. I'm hoping now that we've induced buyers, trapped them. I want to see what price does, because we've taken this low here. So maybe, just maybe, we come all the way back up to form our new all-time highs, because what we've done here is essentially built liquidity. Hoping you guys can see that. Yeah. Trading with structure versus trading against structure. Yeah, I think Elijah's gone through this like many times, but we can kind of do it as a drawing, right? So let's say liquidity from the left gets taken. So hold on. Let's say we induce buyers. I'll try to draw this as clean as I can. Okay, so this generally tends to happen, right? Where it's essentially what I look for, to be fair. So before we take the lows, we tend to induce buyers once more. This is what I want to see, the early inducement of buyers. Okay, so let me just neaten this up. So early inducement of buyers. We come back down to the lows. Okay, and we even sometimes break structure again. We don't have to do that, okay, but it's nice to see. Now, the high that took that low, right, we know what we call that. It's just another name for the inducement high, okay? So it's the high which induced buyers and then we've trapped, right? So we've taken the lows. Now, what do I want to look for now? Okay, if we have engineered liquidity, we can look for a trade in the opposite direction. You want to see price action print, right? So now what we tend to see happen is we will break structure, right? So this is what I mean by breaking structure. Okay, we've now formed a new high. However, we're still trading under this inducement high. So any buy is valid as long as we stay below that inducement high. Now, what tends to happen is the market goes bullish, taps into this LB, okay? And we know that this LB gives false reactions. So sometimes what happens is we can trade lower, okay? And this does happen sometimes. So that's why I don't like taking entries. Like, for example, most people wait for this low to be taken and they enter, okay? Sometimes this low can get taken, right? Once that low is taken now, okay, so I'll stop there for now. Hold on. So this is not trading with structure, okay? Because we're still underneath this inducement high. Now, if this inducement high was taken, okay, now you would not be looking for a buy at this low. It's just lower probability. We might be respecting this high here, okay? However, what could happen is because we've taken that inducement high and we've built liquidity, what can happen is these lows can now get taken. So what I wait for is that second LB to now form, right? So once we've now formed this second LB, I wait for a reaction in this leg down, okay? And I wait for the exact same thing, okay? So I wait for a build-up of some sort, that trap move to occur, and then I take that high, okay? So this would be where you would enter. So this would be the entry, okay? Now, instead of looking at it as a pattern, okay, obviously we want to have that pattern recognition so we can recognize when to enter. However, we want to look at the logic of price. What is price actually showing us? Okay, we want to see what is price telling us. And I think that happened on NQ. If I keep this here, right, I'll flip it the other way so you guys can see what a bearish model would look like in that sense, right? Okay. So same thing really, right? We've induced sellers, trapped them. We have these buyers coming in. Okay, we take that at the high, right? Stops above the LB. Now, if we look at that in terms of what happened on NQ, I think it's very similar. So on NQ, okay, just looking at it from a higher time frame, right? We induced buyers by taking out these highs, okay? And then we've trapped them. So think of this as the move down. We've now trapped, okay? We can see that was on Thursday. If I go down to the hourly, you should be able to see that, yeah. In fact, we'll even go down to lower time frames so you guys can see this. Okay, so this is a perfect example, okay? So notice how, okay, we induced sellers and we took that liquidity from the left. Now, I saw a lot of people, okay, take this. So, in fact, I'll show you guys what I mean. So, look how we took that low, okay, the high, okay, that takes that low, okay. So look at how we've respected that, right? Now, we then break structure again. I'm sure you guys can see that. And then we come in, we take that high. Now, think about the buyers that are in these positions, okay? We even respect this, okay? We break structure, come back down, we break structure again. Once you see that build of buyers, you can expect that trap to occur, okay? And you can see how we have that trap. We came and we tapped into this area, okay? Yeah, we tapped into this area. And then this is the move that I'm telling you guys about, right? Okay, look at where we built liquidity at. Once those highs go, okay, you can expect that low to go once more. So even though this was an LB, once we've tapped into it and broke structure, now look, we have that second LB that formed, okay? And now I am in this. This is a position I did take. Look at since taking now that low again, we've had so many buyers come into the market on Friday. We tapped into this LB. Now, again, I wouldn't be looking for sells, okay? Because I'm very bullish, okay? I'll keep that as engineered because that is an engineered liquidity move. It's still valid because we've induced sellers and then we came up to trap all of these sellers. Look at the reaction that we have before. Okay. If you took an entry there, I think that was before the market opened anyway on the indices. But yeah, you could have taken that and then you would have taken it. Now I entered once all of this liquidity was taken, and I believe on the 15-minute, I entered at this imbalance, right? Look at this is all liquidity. There's an LB below. So I had my entry there, stops at the low. Now, where was I targeting? I was targeting where we built liquidity at. So where we had that reaction from. Okay. Now I do see price tapping higher. However, I'm also aware that where this bullish move came from, if you look to the left-hand side, and I know a lot of people were waiting for this, so these lows to go, right? So if we zoom out, you can see how we tapped into this area multiple times now. So we've tapped into this, moved away, okay? Came back in, tapped into it, moved away. You can see how we've now broken structure to the upside. So it is possible that early week on NQ, we induce sellers. So we start moving down, take that liquidity, and then look at the liquidity we've built at these highs. We're ready to move bullish from there. So overall, I am bullish on NQ. I do want to see that trap move occur. I am BE on my position. So yeah, that's something that I want to see. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the NQ essentially. I've just gone BE once we took that high. So once we took this high, because now that we've induced buyers, we can come and take these lows. Yeah. You seem to be making a distinction between engineered liquidity and just liquidity. Um, Not really. It's I'm just using the words interchangeably. They are the same thing. Yeah. By the market reacting from an area, we're engineering liquidity. Yeah. I've gone through BTC already. And Euro USD, I believe, very similar price action to yeah, we induced trapped. Yeah, very similar price action to GBP USD. So on the weekly, I think we induced sellers. So we induced sellers. We have all this liquidity at the highs. So you can see how we've just engineered liquidity again at these highs. Okay. Why don't we have live example as when you take trade rather than on history? What are you talking about? Do you like the indices or forex pairs more the last periods than now? How do you come to that conclusion? Is it because of all-time high? Yeah, just basically if we're trading at all-time highs, I don't trade it until we print more PA. And right now the indices, I am interested in them because I do think we can move bullish on the indices. Was this low probability set up in Q? Yeah, yeah, because there's still liquidity below. But yeah, just finishing up on DXY. You can see how we've induced sellers. It's just in a very weird place. This is why price action's been very difficult to essentially manage, right? Because I am bullish on the dollar. Okay, I do think we're gonna have that move up on the dollar soon. Yeah, for sure. Any last questions, guys? New and still a bit unsure. I don't understand when the zone of a liquidity candle presents an entry upon it and when it's better to wait for the low or high to be swept. Not really sure what you mean, to be honest. I don't understand when the zone of a liquidity candle presents an entry. 2 to 3, if you're new in terms of pairs, right? Yeah, Marco has a whole video on future props, CFD props, and Elijah does a lot on back testing. Um, yeah, you look at which pair has higher time frame direction. Yeah, that's how you look at which pairs. So when I look at my pairs, right? I look through them and then I just see which one has clear direction. Okay, that's all I do. I just look at which ones have clear direction. So for example, USD CAD. Right now, my direction is clean. It's bearish, right? And I can tell that it's bearish. I've engineered liquidity to target. So you just got to look at it from where the direction is clear. You can trade those pairs. Yeah. For buy, after build up trap with LB below, but there's more liquidity below with the first LB hold. No, that's why I said you wait. You wait for a confirmation entry. Don't just take it at the first LB. You know, sometimes you have that fear of missing out the move, but price can actually print you another LB and then a build up and then a trap. So maybe wait for that second LB to form, and then that will increase your confidence that we might be moving bullish. Yeah. Because when we are bullish, we'll see lows taken and then we'll take highs. Yeah. MIP. No, that's not wise. Yeah, so I said if you see sellers trapped, you can look for shorts, but that's if we have liquidity to target. If I have a bearish bias, I want to see early sellers trapped first. Why would I look for buyers to be trapped? I want to sell, so I want to see sellers trapped. Yeah. Um, I did not take that NQ long because we did not induce buyers before the inducement low. Yeah, it was valid. It's just low probability. Yeah. Yeah. What's going on, Conker? Um, Appreciate you guys. Any last questions before we finish off?